Hello boys and girls, and welcome to chapter 2. Congratulations on completing your first chapter of grade 6. I think you guys have done quite well so far overall, and now we get to do my favorite chapter, which is fractions, decimals, and percent. And some of you are already masters at this, so you know what, let's get to it, let's rock it, and I think you guys are going to do really well. Okay, let's begin with decimals and fractions on page 89. But you know what? Before we begin, I can't help it, but look at this. What is wrong with this guy? Is he angry? Is he confused? I don't know. Okay, decimals and fractions. The instruments below show the part of students in the school orchestra that play each type of instrument. Okay, so here we have 0.25, a quarter. They play the brass instruments. Brass instruments are the ones that all have this color, like trumpets, tubas, trombones, and so on. Okay, write 0.25 in word. So well, we know then the place where this is. This is the 10th and this is the 100th. So we have to write 2500th. Correct? Okay, now don't forget that helps us when we convert it into a fraction, because if we're going to write 2500th, we would write it like this as a fraction, right? 25 over 100, because it's out of 100, right? Because it's in the 100th place, as you can see there. And then we just, because we know how to work with ratios now, and simplifying ratios or looking for unit rates, we know how to simplify this down to the smallest value, and that'll be your fraction. But then, here we go, write the 2500th as a fraction. Well, it's 2500th, 25 in the 100th place, 2500th. Okay, let's keep on with this pattern, right? Now, for the percussion instruments, the drums, what do we have? We have 1500th, right? 15 in the 100th place. Don't forget, this is the ones, this is the tenths, and this is the hundredths. So you have to know your place values to know this, right? 0.15 in word form. Okay, and write 0.15 or 1500th as a fraction, 1500th. Okay, continuing on, we have for the strings, guitars, violins, cellos, and so on, we have 0.31, 3100th. So write 3100th in word form. And then do the same for the number as a fraction. So you guys are following the pattern, right? It's in the 100th place, so we must put it over 100. 31, 0.31 as a fraction, or 31 hundredths. And lastly, with the woodwinds, we have 0.29 or 29 hundredths. So write it as a word form, and write 29 hundredths as a fraction, 29 hundredths. Okay, that's it for this page. There's your key answer. Okay, based on that first example, you've probably already noticed that we have to be very familiar with the number place value, okay? The place value system, which we looked at a lot last year. Now, let's look at it here again as a little review, okay? And you can see that we have the decimal, okay? That's where we start our number. The decimal is always on the furthest right position, okay? Next to the ones place. So we have the ones is the first number next to the decimal, then the tens, the hundreds, and the thousands, okay? But then we start to go towards a fraction of a number, and we start to count by tenths. Okay, so there's no ones. This is a common mistake that people make. There's no ones. That doesn't exist. It goes from ones, and then when we go to the decimal place, it goes to the tenths. Okay, because we start counting at 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10. The hundredths, as you can see the TH, this there, and the thousandths. You see, you have to do the thing with the tongue. Tenths. Hundredth, thousandths. Looks a little funny, I know. And here we have an example. This 6 is in the tenths place. Okay, the 6 right here is in the 10th place, so we put it as 6 over 10, 6 out of 10. But then when we simplify it, because that's what they want us to do, they want us to do the simplest form, we have to see if both numbers have a common factor. And they do. Both of these numbers are even, so they both have a common factor of 2. So you divide them both by 2, and you get 3 over 5, and that's how we simplify fractions. And fractions must always be simplified. Take some time to look at number 2 and number 3 so that you can see that it continues to follow the pattern. Okay, over here we first had the 10th, now we have the 100th, 4 and 5, and the 5 finishes in the 100th. And then 3, we have the thousandth, tenth, hundredth, thousandth. See, it finishes all the way on the thousands, so the number has to be over 1,000. Over here, finished on the hundredth. You see that? In the hundredth right there, so it has to be over 100. And up here, finished over the 10th, so it has to just be over 10. And then we simplify. Okay, we find a common factor. Over here, the common factor is 5. There are 9 5s in 45 and 20 5s in 100, so it's 9 over 20. And then over here, our common, it looks like it's 1 is by 125. So there are 3 125s here, and there are 8 125s here. Okay, so 3 8s. Okay, so this is the right answer, not this one. It has to be in the simplest form. So let's try A, B, and C. So based on what we just did, boys and girls, let's work on this. I'll just draw it out. We have right here, okay, 8 to do, and it's only in the 10th place, so we can take 8 and put it over 10. To simplify this to the slowest possible, we know that they can both be divisible by 2, so this will become a 4 and this will become a 5. Both of them divided by 2, so the A is 4/5. Okay? B. B finishes in the 100th place. As you can see there, right? 100th place, the 2 right there. The 8, sorry, in the 100th place, right here. The 8. So we know that it has to be 28 over 100, right? Okay, we both know that they're both, even numbers, so they can be divisible by 2, so let's try that. So I get 14 over 50, right? If I divide them both by 2, and then I can also get 7 over 25. I can stop there because there's no other common factor. The only common factor is 1. Okay, so it would be 7/25, 25ths. So we write it, we write it right here, 7/25. Okay, and now let's look at this one. It finishes in the thousandth place. Okay, 1, 2, 3 decimal places over. You see that? 1, 2, 3 decimal places over. So what is it? It's 125 over 1,000. Well, how many 125s do we have? So how many 125 are there in 1,000? Well, if I were to, let's say, multiply it by 8, just to figure it out, I know that I would get 1,000. Okay, so clearly here I have 1, while here I have 8. Okay, so I have 1 125, and at the bottom I have 8 of 125s. So our answer there is 1/8. Okay, 1/8. And there we go. That's how you simplify all 3 of them. Make sure that you can find the greatest common factor for both your numerator and your denominator, and then you divide the numbers by that great common factor to simplify it. Okay, a star right there will be your key answer. Continuing. Okay, for example 4, we're going to look at mixed number. What is a mixed number? Well, a mixed number, boys and girls, is a whole number with decimals, okay, or a whole number with a fraction of a number, of a whole number. So let's see. Our example is talking about a conch shell, and it's telling us that it's 9.985 inches, okay, in length. And we want to express this as a mixed number now. So a mixed number implies this. We have 9.85, right? Let's separate them. Let's separate them into a whole number, which is our 9, and our decimal 85. Well, we know that because it goes from the 10th to the 100th, it has to be over 100, right? Now, what's the greatest common factor of 85 and 100? What's the greatest common factor? You don't always have to find the greatest common factor, but you can continue to simplify. I know that over here, I have 17 5s, and down here I have 20 5s, right? So I found the greatest common factor to be 5. And that would be, now I take this fraction and I add it to my whole number, so now that my answer would be 9/17/20. You see? It's almost 10. But it's not quite there yet. And that's how you would write a mixed number. Okay, let's try D. Just the same way I did it the first time. Okay, let's take our number. Okay, it says here, it takes approximately 4.65 quarts of milk to make a pound of cheese. Express this amount as a mixed number in simplest form. Okay, so it takes that much milk to make that much milk to make 1 pound of cheese. Okay, let's express it. I have 4.65. I'm going to again separate my whole number at the 4, and I'm going to write my fraction right over here. We know that the second number ends on the hundredths place, so it's over 100. Again, find the greatest common factor and divide it by that. I think right now it's 5, but I'm not 100% sure. And I do know that I have 13 5s on the top and I have 20 5s at the bottom. Okay, is that going to be my answer? Well, yes, because I just ran into a prime number, which only factors are 13 and 1, so I can't simplify any further. So yes, my answer is going to be 4 over 13/20. Okay, so yeah, that's what we're going to write right there. Okay, continuing on. Oh, I almost forgot. Cannot forget, boys and girls, that when we write an answer with the units, we must also include our units. So we have 4/13/20 quarts, QT. Okay? And finally, converting a fraction into a decimal. Really what we're doing, boys and girls, now is that we're going to take these fractions, as for example 3/5, and in order to turn it into a decimal, we have to divide the top, the numerator, by the denominator. So this is 3 divided by 5. As you see right there, 3 divided by 5. Okay? And you do that with all of them. Now, you can simply do this with a calculator, but let's actually do it as a manually in different ways. Okay, let me show you a trick. One way to do 3/5 is I know that the 3 is in the 10th place, right? So this has been simplified from the 10th. So we can say that it's 6 over 10, right? Well, we know that by reading this fraction, we say the number 6/10. 6/10. It's 6 in the 10th place. And there's your decimal. 0.6. That's one way of doing it. Now let's do it another way. I taught this trick to my 5th graders last year, and I hope it works for you this year. If we have 3 over 5, now let's just pretend, we know that this is going to be a fraction, right? So let's just put the 0 with the decimal there, because then we know it's going to be a decimal, because a fraction, a proper fraction is a number between 0 and 1. So we know that there's going to be a decimal, right? So 0, 1. So go ahead and do that. But then you can go ahead and make this the number 30. Since you added a 0 there to make it a decimal, go ahead and put a 0 right there. And now just simply divide. What is 30 divided by 5? 6. There you go. That's another way to do it. Okay, next we have 14 divided by 25, right? 14 divided by 25 right there. Okay. We can set it up as a division, and we know that there's no 25s in 14, so we know right away that it's, like we said, it's going to be, we put our decimal there and we put our decimal right away right there, and we know that there are 0 25s in 14, so now we must add a 0, and that becomes 140. So how many 25s are in 140? I can get up to 5, right? If we have 5, we have 125, right? And now we subtract and we have 15. And we bring down another 0. And now I have 0. How many 25s are in 150? 6, right? 6 of them. So that would be 150. And now it's 0 when we subtract it, right? So my answer is 0.56. Okay, you've seen me do the number 1 and number 2, or E and F, right? E and F. Go ahead and do G. I'm curious to see, when I check your homework, I'm going to be looking for that answer right there. And if for some reason you don't get it right, you and I will work through it. Okay? So that is it for today, boys and girls. I'm happy, and I hope that you understood this, or that this was just a review for you. Okay? See you in class.